Hello and welcome to the video. This video is about this thing here. This is the new ZOHD Drift. Some of you might have seen it. It's been listed on places like Banggood for a week or two. I've got one of the first ones in, and rather than just do an unboxing video, I thought, you know what, let me wait until I've had it long enough to actually get out and fly it, and I have. So in this video I'm going to do my standard stuff. I'll show you how it comes, we'll unbox it, I'll show you how I've got it set up, and I'll show you how it flies and give summaries at the end. Now I quite like ZOHD stuff anyway. I've got an entire ZOHD playlist, so go and check that out. And this is a little bit of a departure for them because it has the carbon fibre boom, the tail feathers at the back. No rudder on this, so be aware of that. So we've got ailerons and elevator, but we've got lots of carbon reinforcement. But as usual, ZOHD has some extra special things. The wings are held on with one little screw. If we undo that screw, then the wing cuts come off with the servos at the bottom. And then in the middle bit, we have room for a GPS. I've got a co-pilot installed in this, as well as the ZOHD FPV equipment at the front. And this is really designed for those things. If you're going to get one of these, I'd recommend getting those two bits with it. I'll show you how well everything fits in. We've got lots of room at the front for a battery, 2S and 3S capable. And then at the bottom, we have quite a bit of room as well for your auxiliary electronics. So I've got my receiver in there. I've also got the control panel for the co-pilot, and everything's fitting in beautifully. Now you can remove the tail boom as well, although to be honest, with the wings off, it's quite a long thin thing. You kind of have it sticking out the back of a backpack. But if you really wanted to, you could make the tail removable as well. So let me, before I get too carried away with this, let me show you how it comes and do the unboxing, go through the setup. The setup's really simple. I think this is very much aimed at beginner intermediate pilots, and this isn't a hot rod. It's a beautiful plane to fly, and because of the prop is kind of out the way at the back, either 2S or 3S, it will actually run on both. I'm going 3S here just because that's the way I can get the central gravity absolutely spot on. But let me show you how it comes in the box. The box itself is a lot smaller than you expect it's going to be, but that's because the tail is a separate part and the wings go in as well. Now there are three versions. You can kind of get the kit, the PMP, and this is the FPV version that you'll see in a moment. Actually has the ZOHD co-pilot, which will provide stabilization and return to home, as well as auto launch features, and also has the VC400, which is the all-in-one FPV camera that pops into the nose. So as we open it up, you're going to get an idea of how full everything is. Very well wrapped, as always with these things. They tend to come really well protected with bubble wrap. Pretty decent manual that goes through each of the building steps. I'll show you how to put it together, but on here is what the recommended setup for 2S and 3S is. Has the central gravity nicely shown, is molded into the bottom of the wing. Things like the throws are all detailed on here. Really good manual that actually tells you everything you need to, and none of the stuff that you don't. Quick bit of bump about the other models in both the Sonic model and ZOHD ranges, some stickers, and then a couple of props. The 2-bladed prop is for 2S, the 3-bladed prop is for 3S. So as you saw, I've done the 3-bladed prop version. Horizontal stabilizer is really nicely made. Everything is very well finished. Carbon spar reinforcement and carbon control horns as well. Do exercise all of the hinges to make sure they're nice and free moving. I like the way that they've actually separated the hinges a little bit to make sure they're nice and easy to move. It might not be a bad idea to put a bit of blender and tape over those hinges just to make sure that they're nice and protected. Main body looks like this. Some kind of little killer whale with all things attached. Got the hatch at the back where the co-pilot or flight controller can go. GPS can fit above that. Tons of room in the front. You can see the carbon spar reinforcer running down the nose. You've got the connectors on the side that the wing plug into, and room at the front for the FPV camera. And then underneath in this little piece, we've got the room underneath the flight controller for the servo for the elevator, and room for your receiver and everything else. Then we have our box of goodies. Again, this only comes with the FPV kit. We have the good old Copilot. I'll put a link down below for my setup videos for that. And then the VC400, which is the FPV camera that fits beautifully into the nose. Wings are next. Wings, again, are ready to just plug in. Servos are installed. The connectors are done. They've been designed so if the servos do get broken, they're relatively easy to replace. Again, some kind of relief on the hinge, which is nice. I just like the way that the carbon spars are laid in, just to give that extra bit of rigidity. Really nice. And you have 3 little pins that push into the model. They're not going to survive too much rough abuse, so when you push them into place on the model, just be careful you're not bending those. Then we have the tail and the vertical stabilizer. Again, no rudder this time. And the control rod for the elevator runs through the hollow carbon fiber boom. It's going to clip onto that servo that we just saw in the belly of the body. And it does have a little retaining clip that you can use to keep it in place. So if you did want to, you could just undo that clip, pop the rod out of the servo and remove the tail if you wanted to. It connects it into the back using this little collet. There's a little stop that stops you from pushing it too far in, and then that little collet does up and it's there. And then last is a little bag, little carbon spar to keep the wings in place, and the little screws you need to put it together. So again, every single step that I'm going to go through is detailed beautifully in the manual. First job is to install the tail, so just push it home, be careful not to bend anything, and then once it's there, do up the little collet and that will keep it in position. Then push the rod into the middle hole of the servo and slide over the plastic retaining clip so it looks something like that. Once that's in place, then put in the horizontal stabilizer, and then that's going to connect up. You're going to put it in place with one of the plastic screws that you get in the kit. Adjust the tail so when it's completely level and in line with the control surface, then the servo's at 90 degrees, and that's the tail installed. Then the wings go on. They just push on, but there's a little carbon spar that goes in the middle that kind of gives them a slightly swept tilt, and also means that when you push them home, they're aligned perfectly, so they just snap into place. And again, a little screw in the middle, as I showed at the beginning, will keep them in their spot. ZOHD is going to fit in the top, and the little recess for the GPS is the perfect size for the one in the kit. So set it up as per my ZOHD video. Again, links down below. I cheat and mark up all the control connectors with what they are: E for elevator, A for aileron, etc. Fit in the Copilot, plug in all of the controls, throttle into the throttle channel, S-bus into your receiver, A for aileron into the aileron channel, and then pop in the GPS into position. That has a little thing that goes over the top, so a little sticker that comes in the kit, and that will make it look nice and neat. Once that's all plugged together, then that's it really. Just make sure that the throws on the radio are right, and do a high five check to make sure they're working in the right direction in manual mode. And then in stabilize mode, make sure the corrective action's right as well. If it's not, use the rotating pots on the Copilot control panel thingy to make sure they're moving in the right way. So at the field, this is kind of a great example. This is actually the maiden flight I'm doing the video from. I'm going to fly it line of sight, but actually record what the camera can see. You can see how quick and easy it is just to pop the wings on at the field. You do get a spare little plastic screw, and you're going to need that. The screws are black, and if you drop them, they will disappear. So maybe put a blob of fluorescent paint on the top of them. That's probably not a terrible idea, actually. I might do that here. Now, when you initially plug it in, it's going to beep, and it's going to continue to beep for a while. You're waiting to hear for it to beep 3 times to let you know that the GPS has got a lock and the ESC is active. Once it is like that, then do your high five check, pop it in stabilize mode, make sure that the corrective action is all moving in the right way, and that you are ready to go. Now again, with the Copilot, we do have the ability to do a kind of auto launch, but I'm just going to launch it and stabilize, catch it, and take off. This is a very calm day, not ideal conditions. There's a bit of rubbish on the lens of the camera, which I wish I'd have spotted, but there we are, we're off. Now, elevator is set as per the manual. A little bit aggressive, I would say. I'd probably drop the throws down just a smidgen, but it is absolutely buttery smooth. Now we have got a little bit of rain here, so there's even rain on the lens of my hat cam as I'm following it around, but flying it at about 50% throttle, and it is beautiful in stabilized mode, so it is limiting the pitch and roll, so there's no aerobatics at the moment with this in stabilized mode. I can put it into manual mode and have fun with it. The only little thing I'm noticing is for the co-pilot in this, I would calibrate level with the nose up just a little bit, and the stabilize, it's great. You can just take your hands off the sticks, it will auto level and just fly around. Now with the little 853S battery that I have in here, believe it or not, this thing will fly easily for 25 minutes or more. So if you're going to use one of the lithium ion packs or something like that, 2S, pop it in, it's going to fly probably longer than the battery's going to last on your goggles. So don't worry if you only can fit in, like I can, an 853S battery. It is going to work absolutely beautifully, and hopefully you can see how nice the image is out of the VC400. It's a very little lens, and this is a really tricky day for it. It's quite overcast, but it's quite bright, but it's coping nicely. I'd be quite happy to fly FPV on this thing, obviously without the little bit of crud that it picked up from the grass before I chucked it for the first time. Now this does make it a really, really nice plane for a beginner or an intermediate pilot. I think if you want to fly it like you stole it, this probably isn't going to be the plane for you. There are other planes around that's probably going to be a better fit. But if you want something that is really easy to put together and very, very relaxing and fun to fly and inspires a huge amount of confidence, this is probably going to be there on the list, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Now I'm coming to the end of this maiden flight. Drop the throttle down to about 20% and just pootling around. Again, very, very gentle characteristics, very floaty actually. I could do a bit of thermal soaring with this. So let me just land it gently onto the path, go and pick it up, and that was the maiden flight, but very indicative of how this thing flies. So in summary, what do I think? Well, there's an awful lot that I like about this ZOHD plane. To be fair, ZOHD tend to put a lot of thought into their models. So if you like ZOHD stuff, you're going to like this. I love the fact we've got all the hatches, places for the GPS, places for the battery. We have access to the hatch underneath. Love the fact that the wings and everything are attachable without glue. So you don't need to worry if you do accidentally break something, if you're learning to fly on this thing, or you're just using it as a floater around and you have a bit of a dodgy landing, then even as you're coming in, it's not a big deal. You can just pop the wing off and replace it with a brand new wing. Loads and loads of carbon fiber reinforcement in all the key places, which I like, and it isn't particularly heavy. So this isn't something that I'm going to be flying in anything other than a very, very light wind. It does fly really nicely. The fact that it has the prop up here out the way, it's room for the FPV camera at the front, and it's very gentle, beautiful, relaxing flying characteristics means it's great if you want a plane to teach somebody to fly, or maybe you want to get into it yourself and you're not sure what to get. Then this is going to be right up there with some of the other models that I'd recommend, all of which have the same kind of layout where the prop is mounted dorsally out the way, so if you do come down and hit something, you don't snap the prop and the motor mount. And if you really wanted to, although mine's about 273 grams, I think it is, you could sneak it under 250 if you were careful with your battery choice and dump some of the things like the flight controller. Only a couple of things really to mention about it. First of all is that there isn't a rudder. If you learn to fly, a rudder is something you eventually need to get the hang of, in my humble opinion. Coordinated turns where you're banking and pulling round. A little bit of rudder will help you stop just doing lazy turns all the time. But for a plane where it's just kind of, bank and yank, so you kind of bank over and pull the elevator to help you get round, this is absolutely fine. I can understand why they haven't put it in this with this beautiful carbon tail. And I guess if you wanted to, you could do a mod maybe and put a servo in there. A servo in the back would have to be offset with a heavy battery at the front. But in my experience flying this, I'm not missing a rudder too much, but do be aware of that if you are getting one to learn to fly. Eventually you are going to have to master the rudder, even though some of my friends who I'm flying with, who've been flying for 20 years, still think the rudder is the devil's work. It is really made for the co-pilot and the GPS unit, and also the VC400 that fits absolutely beautifully at the front. The way the battery hatch actually captures the antenna and everything is really nice. You can use your own FPV equipment, but if you're going to get one, I would personally get one with the co-pilot and the FPV kit as well. Again, I'll put a link down below to the co-pilot video that shows you how to set that up. And finally is just one last comment on the way it flies. This is a beautiful soaring, gentle flyer. These kind of planes tend to be with, you know, a little bit of kind of upsweep of the wings and, you know, low central gravity below the wings themselves. Then this isn't the model I would buy if I want to fly it like I stole it. It's not designed for that. But if you want something that is super portable, that you could take the tail off and the wings and stick in a backpack, and you don't want a wing, and it's not particularly windy where you fly, this is absolutely worth a look. So well done ZOHD, another very nice model, and it's great to see these kind of options coming out. I wouldn't mind a slightly bigger one myself to have more options for longer range and bigger batteries. So who knows, fingers crossed. Thank you for watching my video and watching right to the very end. If you want to find out what I'm currently working on, you can follow me on social media by searching for Painless360 in the usual places. If you'd like to become part of the inner circle, then you can become a Patreon. Details are in the description and you get lots of additional benefits. Check out the playlist section on the channel too. I organise all of my videos into playlists, and it's called something like Introduction to or for Beginners. All of the content is aimed so that you can start at the very beginning, and it teaches you that subject, starting with simple principles and moving up to teach you everything you need to know.